Hello. So you moved here because I forced you to, because you're my mate, or you're genuinely interested. Possibly you're even scared of sharks, and I'm going to tell you from the start that is completely fine. Everyone has their fears. No one's saying you can't have fears, but you've got to be willing to learn, because it is true when people say the more we understand, the less we fear. So that's why we're both here. Since Jaws was released in 1975, the hunting for sharks has increased significantly. This has caused a lot of shark populations to become endangered. So that is why I'm here. I'm here to break down this stigma and show you sharks, seriously, are as scary as what you think. This video is for anyone who wants to watch it, anyone who wants to learn about sharks, but it is for somebody in particular, and that is Frankie from TikTok. You and me met because you were scared of sharks, and I'm now posting this video to try to help you. You've been telling me that you've been researching and looking into sharks, and you are as scared as what you was before. I'm glad that I was able to push you into learning about these beautiful creatures. So thank you very much for cooperating with me. So let's just kick this off with the big question, and that is, do sharks want to eat us? And it is extremely simple. They do not want to eat you. They just don't want to eat you. Predatory shark diets do consist of roughly the same things, which is sea turtles, seals, squid, cuttlefish, crustaceans, fish, smaller sharks, sometimes dolphins. But the simple fact is, humans just die on the menu. They don't see us as prey. Sharks do not look at a human and see us as prey. But the simple fact is, humans, we ate on the menu. So why do they attack us? Well, I can tell you one thing for certain, it ate to eat us. It can actually be for multiple reasons, but the main reason is mistaken identity. I will show you a picture of a human on a surfboard and compared to a seal. Looking at that, even as a human, I would probably mistake this shadow. They're very similar shadows, and so if a shark sees prey nearby, it's going to go for it. This is typically why surfers, scuba divers and snorkelers happen to have more attacks on them, because some of their activities do portray them to look a bit more like prey. It's unfortunate, but it is no one's fault. Another big reason can actually be confusion. It is well known in sharks, especially in great whites. If they're uncertain about something, they will do what we call a test bite. This is basically when the shark bites into something to see if it is prey or not. And most of the time, especially in great whites, they will have that test bite, realise straight away, you ain't prey, I don't want to eat you, and then swim away. I hear people say, oh yeah, but as soon as they bite you, they will swim away. Which is, a lot of the time it is true, not always 100%, and you have to realise that great whites have an extreme bite force. They may have that one bite, but it can be fatal. But tiger sharks are the ones you do not want to get test bitten by, because it is very common when tiger sharks bite into something as a test bite, they don't really let go, no matter what they are. They do not have a very diverse palate, tiger sharks. They're not very picky eaters, whereas other sharks are known to have preferences. A lot of the time when tiger sharks do have that test bite, they don't happen to let go as fast as great whites. So you've heard me bring up great white and tiger shark, but why? That is because great whites and tiger sharks are part of the big three. And you may be asking, who are the big three? Well, I'll tell ya. The big three are the most dangerous sharks in the ocean, and that is the great white shark, the tiger shark and the bull shark. These are considered the most dangerous sharks because they are brilliant hunters, and they are actually responsible for most of the attacks on humans. I will be doing individual videos on these sharks. Stay tuned, subscribe so you can watch them videos. When you think of attacks, you probably think great white sharks, and you're right to think that because great white sharks do have the most attacks on humans. However, getting bit by these big three, statistically, you're more likely to survive a great white shark attack. The second worst out of the big three is a tiger shark. That is because of the hunting methods where they do have a strong bite as well as the great white, and they don't typically tend to let go when they've had that test bite. So they've got that test bite, and them shaking their head, and a lot of sharks, when them hunting, do shake their heads to rip chunks out. It is a very common hunting method in sharks. You're more likely to survive a tiger shark attack than when you're on a bull shark attack. And that is because bull sharks have the strongest bite force out of all sharks that we know of. Now, this can sound really scary, but at the end of the day, it is simple. When you're in that water, if you don't act like prey, they will see you as prey. As I said before, mistakes, they do happen, and we can't prevent that. Nature is unpredictable. They're wild animals. You cannot predict them. But all you can do is keep yourself safe. That's all you can do. My saying is, you can't get bit if you're on land. But as I said before, I'm here to prove that these sharks are as scary as what you think. And right now, they do seem pretty scary. This is a video on YouTube. I will tag it in the description. This video is an experiment done by Mark Rober, and he goes out to the water in a densely populated area of sharks. He releases mammal blood, has water in the middle, and then has fish blood. So this experiment was to see if sharks were actually interested in mammal blood. During this experiment, the sharks went up to the mammal blood around 8 times, whereas they went up to the fish blood 134 times. And there was a big behavioural change. And then boom, that hunting instinct is on. That predatory instinct, it's turned on. Them surrounded by fish blood. Sharks do have a really good sense of smell, and they're very attracted to fish blood. And when there was around the mammal blood, it wore hunting, it was more curiosity, because they have such a good sense of smell. They came over and obviously investigated. A lot of the time they're very curious animals, but I would go and recommend watching that video. It shows you in more detail, it shows you all the ins and outs of it. Would really seriously recommend. I watched it and I did really enjoy it. So another question is, are sharks aggressive? And the simple answer, yeah. Sharks are. That is because some of these sharks, the ones that I'm talking about, they are my apex predators. So they've got to be aggressive hunters, they've got to be. But just because they're aggressive, don't mean them aggressive towards us. At the end of the day, as I said before, I've been talking about it a lot. They do have that predatory instinct. As I said before, you can't predict nature. So, as I said before, they don't necessarily just show aggressive behaviour towards humans. They are really commonly aggressive towards humans because, as I said before, a reason for why they may not see us as prey is because sharks, especially tiger sharks, they're very opportunistic hunters. So they won't really want to waste a lot of energy hunting because it is a very energy consuming task for them. They don't want to go out of the way to eat something, especially something that is going to fight back, which is humans, possibly even hurt them. To them, they don't see it as worth it. They don't see us as worth the hassle. Can't complain really. Another reason for why they might want to eat us is because sharks have been around for millions and millions and millions of years, actually before trees, which is pretty cool. They would have adapted the diet for what is most efficient for what they need. For example, great whites commonly attack seals by grabbing them from behind. A reason for why great white sharks may eat seals quite often is because seals do have energy-rich blubber, which obviously you do need if you're breaching out of the water when you're hunting, which is what great white sharks do when they're hunting. They do breach out of the water. That is why it is really energy consuming for some of them. Not all sharks breach, but a good few do. Little fun fact to quickly throw in here. Basking sharks, very gentle giants, are the second biggest shark on this planet, and they have actually been recorded to breach out the water. This is not for hunting purposes because basking sharks eat like whale sharks. So they filter through the water, they have their mouth open all the time, like that. But going back to the question, are sharks aggressive? The conclusion is yes, but not typically towards humans. There are anywhere from 8 to 10 attacks every year that are fatal. So let's put this into comparison. Sharks kill 8 to 10 people a year. We kill over 100 million sharks every year. In comparison to other things, you should not be worried about sharks. So let's move on to the next question. How likely am you to get killed by a shark? Very unlikely. You're very unlikely to get killed by a shark. And I'm actually here to give you some things that are more likely to happen to you than get killed by a shark. You're more likely to get killed by a dog. You're more likely to get struck by lightning than killed by a shark. You're more likely to die to a coconut than a shark. A falling coconut. You're more likely to die to a falling coconut. You are more likely to die to a toaster. Something that everyone has in their house, and you're more likely to die from a toaster. This one, I would have never ever guessed it. You could have given me every guess on this planet and I would not have guessed it. And this last one is, you're more likely to die opening a bottle of wine than killed by a shark. What? You're more likely to die opening a bottle of wine? What? But then things kind of put it into perspective of how unlikely you are to get killed by a shark. It's so unbelievably unlikely. So that is everything in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Frankie, I hope you've watched it and I hope you've enjoyed it. And please remember, at the end of the day, you're allowed to have these fears. And as I said at the start of the video, the more we understand, the less we fear. So just keep learning and you'll become less and less scared. Trust me. I used to be scared of sharks, and now I've realised they don't actually want to hurt us. I hope this video has shown you that you should not be scared of sharks. And in all fairness, you should actually be more scared of not seeing a shark than what you am of seeing a shark. Because an ocean without sharks, it ain't an ocean for much longer. It's, if you see a shark, you know them water's healthy. If you don't see any sharks, unfortunately, that water, it ain't healthy. We need to protect this species. We need to protect sharks all around the world. We have significantly lost a lot of shark populations because of not only jaws, but using and harvesting these sharks for either oils or food or even just trophy sharks. It is beyond cruel, and we are destroying this planet. This is extremely unfair because we cannot survive without these sharks. To people, sharks are just one thing, but everything relies on everything. The food chain. It ain't just going to affect the waters. It will affect us. And we need to wake up and realise that this earth will not survive if we don't help it. I'm doing my bit, so please do yours. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. It is genuinely, you've supported me more than what you think you have by watching one video. You've supported me. So, thank you so much.